You imagine the rover driving around on that, the amount it's going to kick up? That stuff's going to stay up there. You wouldn't be able to see anything for your entire stay if you were there.
You see, what had happened was I sent something to Jera and I said, this makes no sense. Then he posted something on the Facebook group, and this guy, of course, had to post something back. That's how this whole thing got going. Oh, and besides that, I see YouTube has finally cut Jera off too. His email has been banned, so now he can't get any email through his YouTube account. Well, he's had that for what, 15 years more? They finally cut him off, so now he doesn't receive any mail.
Yeah, well, look at what they're doing to our YouTube. What is interesting about the entire thing, there are just so many gaps when we look at the detail. And like I said, the liftoff from the lunar surface, there'd be conversations going back and forth from Houston to the CSM and to the lunar surface. And they missed all of that. There'd have to be a countdown. They'd be sticking numbers in machines. You know, here's the numbers. You go, okay, the CSM is now on this orbital path, and here's the calculation in relationship to you.
All right, you're
Right?
talking about a countdown now. Isn't that interesting that in every Apollo mission that they launched in the 60s, all of them, they always had the news covering that clock, that countdown clock. And when that clock reached zero, that rocket was lit. That's on the launch. Why wouldn't they do the same when the LEM's returning from the lunar surface?
Wasn't written in the storyboard. The biggest one is not having any communication with the CSM for 3 days or any of the time. All of the missions, they just forgot about it because their entire storyboard was designed to do the simulation of the lunar surface. They didn't even need that guy there. It's just like any other acting studio. You know, Collins, we don't need you. Come back. Go hang out with Hugh Hefner at the grotto and we'll give you a call when we need you.
Again, we go back to Dave making comparisons, taking two separate images with two separate digital cameras of his dog, and then comparing that to a Hasselblad 500 camera, which is a film camera. You can't make that comparison. I'm sorry. If you're going to make a comparison, then you have to use a lower grade film camera, take a picture of your dog, and then take the same image with a Hasselblad film camera, an image of your dog, and then compare the two, and then compare those to the Apollo images. That's the only way to do it, Dave. You can't use digital. That's comparing apples to oranges.
Quite right. You've got to compare like to like. You can't just produce the images you want. We're over 60 years down the road from Apollo. A lot has changed. A lot of technology has changed, improved. You've got to compare what happened back then. The cameras used, the equipment used, the communication used. That's what you've got to compare. You can't compare 2025 technology with 1965 technology. It doesn't work. It's basically misleading, if not dishonest. I'm sorry, but you've got to get it right, Dave. If you're challenging what we say, you've got to compare what we say with reality.
Even the dog's a decoy. I mean, you're trying to look at the photographic quality and everybody thinks it's a cute dog or something. That's all they see. They're not
Yeah.
looking at the quality of the photograph itself. So you got to use something other than your dog. You got to use just an inanimate object, and then you can look at the quality of the actual photograph.
Well, that little spaceman in your pocket would be a good start.
Yeah,
So maybe Dave should get one.
except he's squishable. So if you
You,
put him in a vacuum, he's going to blow up too.
Yeah.
He'll just expand and pop.
I think it's rather sweet, that. Not quite as impressive as Piece of Moon Rock, but never mind. Piece of Moon Rock is obviously easy to compare.
Well, you see, there's no hidden image in the visor.
Oh. Who is inside there, Scott?
Well, his name is Eaton.
Ah,
My daughter thought it would be cute, and you can see he's got the red stripes, so he's the commander. And the American flag's on, see that? He is just rubber wiggly, so he can withstand the impact as well.
oh, and talking of spacemen on the moon or astronauts on the moon, we're told that the backpack, the PLSS, weighs about the same as the astronaut, about 180 pounds. Have you tried putting somebody on your back, weighing about the same as you are, and standing upright with that person on your back? You won't be able to.
Now we get into an entirely different situation
We do, yes.
because when they were practicing, the suits that they were practicing in did not weigh 180 pounds. So the only thing they did, those backpacks that they had on there, were simply a mock up. They might have had little radio communication in them, little battery in the radio for their Snoopy helmets, for them to help talk. But even when you see them out there, they had a guy running around with a air conditioner on there blowing it in on a tether to keep them cool when they were in their suits, when they were practicing. That's how they use those. And even the suit itself, because the official Apollo suit, so-called, weighed, 45 pounds, just the suit itself. And then the helmet on top of that weighed another bunch.
I still can't get over the size of that oxygen canister inside that Pliss because it is so small.
Well, they claim they get more in because they compressed it to 5,500 pounds. After you go past 700 pounds, it becomes a liquid, and you can't compress a liquid. From 700 to 5,500, you're not getting more in there. The only reason why you pressurize it more is to control it, to keep it a liquid as you're using it. It's still above the 700 pounds, so it remains a liquid, and that makes it less volatile.
Well, that's what they say when they turn the cryostir on. Kaboom!
Yeah.
The thing is, they couldn't retrieve the service module of Apollo 13. They couldn't work out what was going on. They had to guess it. And the guess was the best effort they could come up with as to why the thing exploded, assuming it did, and it wasn't just going off course, and it was just destroyed because it was not going to land in the right place. Apollo 13 is something that I noticed that our friend Dave hasn't yet examined in detail. Maybe he will one day.
Well, again, the thing when you're examining it, you're examining a story again.
It's a good story.
Nothing at that time was going anywhere. I mean, after it disappears on launch, that's when the story starts. And it's a beauty. Santa Claus has a much better story and has a hell of a lot more evidence. Everybody has had the physical evidence in their own homes to prove that Santa Claus exists.
There was another thing that I would also like to bring to Dave's attention, and that's cold welding. Because I have a video here of two astronauts outside the ISS. One of them tries to put the drill socket onto the drill, and as soon as he touches it to the screw, he can't get it off. And they're sitting there trying to pull it off. They're not getting it off. It's permanently welded. It is a part of that station. So my question is, how come any of these Apollo missions, especially when we're taking a look at the LEM, when they're opening and closing the door on the lunar surface, supposedly, then why aren't the hinges welding themselves together and that door stick open?
Good
The
question.
hinges would have welded, they wouldn't have got the door open in the first place.
As soon as that door would have reached the vacuum of space, as soon as that air was evacuated out of that LEM, that door would have welded the second those guys went to move it. The hinges, they would have welded themselves closed. Exactly the same as we see on the ISS. And don't forget, the ISS is only at 10 to the minus 7 torr. We're talking about the lunar surface where the LEM was. That's torr 10 to the minus 12. Big difference. Dave, it's not a fraction. We're talking about a very large number here in the opposite direction. The torr scale doesn't work that way, I'm sorry. Because they always claim that the torr scale, it's only just fractions. For example, let's take a 0.01 microfarad capacitor and a 0.0001 microfarad capacitor. That's a very big difference. Now use that to repair an oscillator in a radio, and it's not going to function, is it?
They transfer the torr scale into a percentage of atmosphere that's left, and that is incorrect. The torr scale is a measurement of force. And that's all they need to understand. And every time they turn around and go, well, it's just a percentage. It's just a percentage of the amount of atmosphere. And nothing to do with that. It's a measurement of force.
Now we're taking a look at the photographic film. Well, again, when we were talking to Tim Trumbull, who has 30 years experience in the film industry, he was saying that they had to build a Faraday cage around all of the film stock because it was fogging. And that
Yep.
was a serious problem that they were having. And they had to get a Kodak scientist to come in to figure that out. Now we're talking big bucks here because your film stock is being destroyed.
Yeah, and that's just the ambient radiation inside a building that's coming from fluorescent lights or whatever.
So, again, why are the Apollo films so pristine? They were right out there. There was no Van Allen belts to protect them, there was no atmosphere to protect them, and yet look what happened here. They needed a Faraday cage to filter out all of that radiation.
To be fair, when they're doing the editing on the movie films, they are exposed for a longer period of time while they're working on them.
That wasn't it. The film was still inside the cans, inside of the
Yes.
stockroom, and the film was being affected in the stockroom, in
Oh,
the
the story,
canister.
everything,
Yeah.
everything had to be protected. But when you realize that these kind of measurements are completely being ignored by the people who support NASA, they create their own story because they don't examine the story. The only way you can look at it clearly is you just have to look at the evidence, not the story itself. Look at the evidence. And now you're in reality. And the reality is we can't go there now. That's a reality. We're having trouble getting fuel fired rockets off the ground. They're very unstable and they're going to kill people. That's the reality. Now come back and create this other story that had happened more than 50 years ago. It doesn't fit at all. You can't even put that in there. If they were successful, like I said, we would be having hotels orbiting the Earth. There'd be flights up and down. You could just grab one like an Uber and go up to the hotel and spend the weekend. That's where it should be. They would be as commonplace as commercial aircraft does to go to low Earth orbit
Yeah.
and to the moon. You'd be able to go and stay at the moon and everything else. Everything that's in their story that they say that's going to happen would have already happened 30 years ago. You take one little part of their story, the guidance system that they had, all of the things they claim they had to get there, we would have had self-driving cars by 1975. Because their so-called computers, the speed that those vehicles are traveling at, if you realize that computer would have to react 10 times faster or 100 times faster than a self-driving automobile today. The computer would have to be 100 times faster. Like instead of going 60 miles an hour, it's going 6,000 miles an hour and would have to react that fast. Plus, now we're in a 3D environment, 360-degree environment. Cars don't have to do that. They're on a single plane. They're in a 2D environment. They don't have to worry about up and down and flipping backwards, rotating this way and this way when they're going. Car doesn't have to do that. Those computers would have to do that. So imagine how fast they would have to be. So much faster than we have capable today. And they're claiming that their little guidance computers did that.
Well, maybe
Right?
the guidance computers got them to this new space hotel.
Yeah?
Well,
This guy would be the only guy I would put on board to go for the trip. Because he's got a suit, it doesn't have a zipper, and he can look after the vibration too.
But here's the thing. If Apollo really did make it there and back 6 times, what you're seeing here on screen right now is what we would have today. You would have tourists in space. You would have space restaurants. You would have space hotels. You would have docking ports. You would have this beautiful piece of kit up there with all of those things available to all of the tourists. And people today still have the money to do that kind of thing.
yeah, Katy Perry being one of them. 10 minutes, I think that flight lasted.
Well, let's just hope she doesn't open the door on an airlock.
Oh dear, that's a bit sad. That flight that Jeff Bezos organized for the ladies, probably as a wedding present to his future wife, that was the same distance and time that Alan Shepard spent on his first flight into space 60 years ago. He went up 100 miles, came back down again. And that was quite an achievement at the time. Have we really not got much beyond that? It's very sad because
Yeah.
the development of an aircraft from the first flight in 1903 by Orville and Wilbur Wright to the introduction of the jet engine in the 1950s for use on passenger flight was less time than it takes Apollo to launch today. And you've got aircraft. Alcott and Brown did the first flight across the Atlantic in 1919. It's what, 16 years after the first ever flight. Charles Lindbergh did the first solo flight across the Atlantic, 1927. And then we have air races being organized because the planes are getting faster, more maneuverable. Then we have all the aircraft during World War II, which developed the whole procedure. Then we have jet engines, the Comet, BOAC, Bearer on a Camel, or British Overseas Airways Corporation, in 1953, I think it was. Unfortunately, they forgot about the internal pressure, damaging the connection with the windows, and the planes exploded. It wasn't very clever, but they fixed it. And then we have the Boeing 707, which I first flew in 1962, landed at Beirut Airport on the flight deck in a Boeing 707. Great fun it was. And then the 747, carrying hundreds of passengers. Now we have the Airbus A380 with 500 passengers, and it's considered quite normal. You see them coming in to land at Heathrow, and it's quite normal to see a plane of that size coming down. We had Concorde. Of course, that was a bit expensive after the accident. Somebody forgot to take away a piece of rubbish from the runway, and it punctured the tire, which damaged the fuel tanks, and the thing exploded. It was very unfortunate. But it didn't stop flight. And you look on Flight Radar 24 and you can see thousands of aircraft in the air at any given time. Not flying over Iran right now, but you can see them all over the world. It's quite normal. But space travel, that really hasn't followed the same trajectory. You get a few astronauts going up, highly trained airmen going up, allegedly landing on the moon, which hasn't been done since. So we question whether it happened the first time. There is so much difference. And I think you pointed it out very well. There should be hotels in space that we can go to if we can afford it, but there aren't.
Right.
We've got a space station which is about to be deorbited because it's leaking so badly or it's out of commission. And that flies into sunlight and darkness every orbit. No wonder it's getting a bit tired because heat expands metal, cold contracts it. No matter how well built it is, it's still going to be affected by it.
It's man-made, it's going to fail.
Oh, it's been man-made, yes.
Yeah. I heard a comment about somebody when they were saying that, the girls that went to space there, right? She said, if Katy Perry thinks she's an astronaut, if they call her an astronaut after 3 minutes actually in space, that any man that has spent 3 minutes with a woman can call himself a gynecologist. That's about the same scenario.
But 3 years ago, Shepard's daughter took a flight on Blue Origin. So she went just as high as he did. And that was 60 years ago. And we still haven't got any people higher than that, any tourists higher than that.
Just a minute, I'll get a slingshot and send them up. And then I can have somebody that's been to space too.
Yeah, that Epcot restaurant is rather spectacular, isn't it?
And that's what we should see.
Yeah, of course it is. It's basically a sightseeing trip.
Yeah, that is something else. Of course, that overnight stay that they have on Mars, the Disney one, right? Pretty incredible. I saw a thing on it and he said, you realize you're spending the night in the back of a tractor trailer.
Yeah.
You're not anywhere. They just shuffle you off this way, right? And you end up in the back of a tractor trailer because it's all mobile. They can move it around and everything. The problem with the fantasy is they keep reaching further and further and further, and the James Webb Telescope is doing that phenomenally. You have guys that are sitting there going, oh my God, I think our universe is caught in the middle of a black hole. And James Webb Telescope saying, it spotted another universe. I mean, what the hell are these guys smoking? You're just making stuff up. You can't prove any of it, and that's the most fascinating part, because the only thing you can discuss with them is how immense is your imagination? What limitations do you have to their imagination? None of it can be proven. They can't prove that what they make as a statement is real, and you can't prove that it's not. So why even discuss it? This kind of conversation should happen in a mental institution, I would think.
It keeps the money coming in, doesn't it?
And Michio Kaku is the same way, right? He's out there talking about Voyager 2 just encountered an alien now, not just Voyager 1. It came back to life and is sending back information on alien life forms out there.
Like I've said in the past, NASA has a cosmic repair crew, just like they have a cosmic cleaning crew on Mars. Those craft are always clean every time you see them. They're clean. One shot they're filthy, and the next shot they're clean. So who's cleaning them?
Well, it rains in northern Canada every now and again, and I guess it washes them off on the island there.
It rains in Canada, yeah, Devon Island, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it rains every now and again.
And the problem is you don't know what to believe anymore because of all this nonsense. That's the real sad thing.
Yeah, well, when the Mars rover gets eaten by a polar bear and it records it, they'll say, "Oh, there's life on Mars."
Those recent Mars images that came back have snow caps on the mountains. There's snow on those hills. Not only is there snow there, but there's clouds and the sky's blue. And then you flick through them, and I'm looking at them and I'm going, okay, wait a minute. Now, where did all that snow go? And now the sky's red again.
Yeah, and you like see that where they just changed the color of the water to remove it.
You know, when the water dries in a riverbank, you get those ripples in the sand. That's what you see on Mars. So there had to have been water there.
Of course there was.
You know what's really sad, Marcus? Robert and I well, I showed him. There's guys out there that use a IA overlay, so they look like a Sasquatch. And now this Sasquatch is going to show you how to cook burgers and rabbits and squirrels and stuff like that.
Got some good pictures there.
Yeah, I'll just share the screen here and we'll take a look at this guy, because this guy's with an alien. That's what you're looking at.
Fuck this.
Anyway, that's what AI does. The guy's holding his phone out there. He's just walking around making the conversations. Here's the problem. He's getting millions of views. And this is what people are interested in, listening to a guy telling a story. It's AI suits on the thing. I guess his iPhone is capable of doing that. So he's out walking around, he's cooking. I was watching and he was showing everybody how to cook a pizza the other day, and then everybody comes over and eats the thing because all the AI is doing. It is nothing for him to produce this. All he has to do is grab his camera, tell the story, and computer animation takes over the rest of it and tells the story. So you get, 600,000 views a day off of each video. Like, he's making a ton of money, and he doesn't even have to buy the costume. He can do this anywhere. The entire background can be AI. Anything else that he's doing, or he can be doing it in his backyard and make it look like a forest, right? And he's got his campfire and the whole 9 yards. This is what people are interested in. They're so far from reality. Absolutely so far from reality. The world is going to come to a grinding halt because people won't even know how to feed themselves if they keep watching this. They won't know how to survive. If we have a natural disaster, their advice is coming from this guy to show you how to cook a campfire outside. They know nothing about it. They've never been there. They live in cities. This is amazing to them because, if you realize you live in a very large city and you haven't even seen grass, this guy is just amazing. That's your reality. They could give a shit whether there's a volcano erupting anywhere or anything that's actually real, because that's not interesting enough. But this is. And this is just one of the avenues that they travel down. And if you don't think computers control the world, like when all the movies, the computers overtake the world, they already have. Yep. They're controlling us. They control everything. These computers are so good that what we're looking at now, because I pulled that up on the feed, if I go over to my TV and pull it up, I'll see Sasquatch vlog all over the TV, because it's got an algorithm that says that's what you're interested in, and it's going to provide you more of that automatically. So now it's controlling what you want to look at and what you want to think. It just drags you off in that direction. So far beyond reality. Even what we talk about, they don't look at it any different than they look at this. We live in the real world, and they can't even see that far. And that's where Dave lives. You know, if you want to live in his world, you go to Dave's house and he's going to show you his dog. He's going to take a picture of his dog. He's going to distract you with all of that stuff. But the story he's telling is the story that he wants to tell. It has nothing to do with reality. That's where the problem is. And that's what these guys do. All of them. All of the YouTube creators that are on this path. Because reality isn't popular. We can see that.
Well, I really got Faze worked up. He says, I'll tell you when it's over, Robert. This is just recent, by the way. You know, he put that out about 22 hours ago.
Yeah, but that's Phil Plait. We all know. Tell you what, you can put a picture of the film up and you can put a picture of the Mylar up and show them because the Mylar and Estar film are the exact same polymer. But we're going to have to put that up and give them a reality shock. This is what the film is going to look like if you put it into a vacuum. It's going to break up just like that Mylar did. And don't forget, that chunk of Mylar is a hell of a lot thicker than that film is. It's going to happen faster. Plus, that's only -7. The film they took to was -12. And it's going to look like that. That's reality. That's the exact same product. And they can't deny that. They can go look it up, they can Google it, and they will see that Mylar and Estar film are the exact same plastic polymer. And Dave needs to get that through his head.
But they don't understand that it isn't the plastic polymer that's breaking down, it's the emulsion in the film that's out.
The emulsion in the film. But that's what's going to happen to the plastic if you put it out there.
Yeah, but you have to leave it there long enough.
Not when you go to -12 and it's a tenth of the thickness.
Well, we don't know that. We haven't tried it. This has been out there for 9 months.
Yeah, and it's 10 times thicker.
It's a bit sad, really, isn't it? They still keep plugging away at it, and they keep telling us that we should look at the evidence. Well, we have. We look at both sides. They don't look at both sides. They just look at their side because they're the people who are right. They probably think they get infected by some strange bacteria if they looked at what we were doing. It's a bit sad.
Well, if they wanted to tell the story better, they would have sent moon rocks at Christmas time with Santa Claus.
Yeah, I guess Neil Armstrong was Santa Claus that year because he was the one that opened that briefcase after he brought it into that room. And what you're seeing here with Marcus holding this moon rock up, I'll bet you that's probably one of them.
And if you show Dave the back of Neil's suit where the zipper doesn't do all the way up.
Yeah, it weighs what we're told it should weigh on the moon, 3.3 grams per cubic centimeter, as opposed to what Earth weighs, 5.5 grams per cubic centimeter. There's a big difference. You can tell them apart. That's quite light. Earth rock's quite heavy, relatively speaking. But if you're not prepared to look at it, you're not prepared to take notice of it and ask the questions, you're not going to get the answers. Yeah. Because you're in a cult. If you're in a cult, you can only accept the answers given by the esteemed leaders, the astronauts, and the Holy Scriptures. Those are the places that have the word of God or the word of the cult leader.
Well, you have to preserve the story because it preserves the cash flow.
You've got to preserve the story. Therefore, what we're saying has got to be wrong by definition because we're not in the cult.
Well, we're not in the cash flow, that's for sure.
Yeah. Cults are not good places to be. They alter your way of thought. Once you're in the cult, you can't possibly escape without being accused of being a heretic. And being a heretic is a terrible thing in a cult. And if you're a heretic, you'll get attacked.
Yes, well, look at some of those cult leaders. There was one lady that came on and she did an interview. That man made her cut her own arm off up to here with a hacksaw. No anesthetic, just made her cut it off because I guess she had done something and God told him that her arm has to go. It goes to show you the extent that some people will go to once they've been brainwashed. And this is what I see with this Apollo business. You can't tell these guys anything. If you ask them to do some research and have a look at smoke and mirrors, they will piecemeal through it, but they won't watch it. I don't know if there's really much point in asking Dave to look at it because he's not going to. Or he'll say, already seen it years ago, it was stupid. It doesn't make sense.
Well, that's just putting blinders on it. If you stick it in their face, they just refuse it outright.
He would so upset all his followers, they would start accusing him of being a heretic to his story. And he can't stand that. It's a bit sad, really, isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it? Isn't it?